Very much, Prof, for that introduction, which I thought spoke about somebody that I couldn't recognize. Chairperson of SAICA, the Chief Executive of SAICA, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it a singular honor that you have invited me to be with you this morning and to share a few thoughts of mine on the matter that I have chosen to share my thoughts with you on. The Chief Executive Officer had wished me to deal with a certain matter, but through some administrative challenges, it was not possible for the message to reach me on time, just in case some of you expect an address on a certain topic. 2 days ago, South Africa held its national and provincial elections, which coincided with the end of the third decade of our constitutional democracy, which is a remarkable milestone for us as a people. This means that we stand at the door of the fourth decade of our democracy. Election results have started coming out, but they are yet to be announced officially by the Independent Electoral Commission, which has said it will probably announce on Saturday or Sunday. Your annual general meeting happens at a very critical time in our country. As I've said, we have finished the third decade of our constitutional democracy, and we are starting a new decade, the fourth decade of our democracy. Obviously, in finishing our third decade, we were finishing the first 30 years of this country's constitutional democracy. When a people reach such a milestone, it is incumbent upon them to reflect on the journey that they have traveled, to identify the challenges and failures that they've gone through, identify the reasons for the failures, and decide what measures they will take to make sure that in the future they do not repeat those mistakes. We as a people have, in the 30 years of our constitutional democracy, gone through various challenges. We have had our own failures, but we have had our successes and achievements too. And we are not to pretend that some of the achievements that we have made are not important because they are. It is true that various sectors of our society will not have the same feeling about what those failures are and what those achievements are. And that there are some who will say they didn't see any achievements. But it is true that we had some achievements. One of our failures has been the failure to deal decisively and effectively with corruption and state capture. As a result of our failure to do so, a lot of taxpayers' money has been lost. As a result of our failure to do so, we are very far as a country and as a people from where we are supposed to be, because those failures have held us back. A question that obviously has to arise is, what are we going to do to make sure that in the fourth decade of our democracy, we do better in our fight against corruption and state capture? I said earlier on that when you reach a milestone such as the one we have reached as a country, you ought to reflect on the journey that you have traveled. If you don't want to repeat the mistakes you have made in the journey that you have traveled. When it comes to corruption, one of our challenges in dealing with it is that government has not always sent one message that is clear to all as on corruption. There are occasions when government would like all of us to believe that they are very committed to fighting corruption. But there are other occasions when their conduct doesn't convince some of us that the commitment to fight corruption is as deep as they would like us to believe. In the fourth decade of our democracy, we must do all we can. Government, business, trade unions, NGOs speak with one voice when it comes to corruption and state capture. There must be no doubt about where we stand. In about 22 days' time from now, it will be 2 years since I handed the report of the commission to the president. That will be on this 22nd of June 2024. That will mark 2 years. After I had handed the report of the commission to the president, early last year, when there was a cabinet reshuffle, two of the people against whom the commission had made adverse findings were promoted. One of them was the previous former Minister of Transport, Mr. Peters. Another one was, at the time of the commission, Deputy Minister Zizi Bodwe. They were both promoted to full minister. Or Mr. Zizi Bodwe was promoted to full minister. Ms. Dipuo Peters, who had been minister but had since not been reappointed and was a chairperson of a committee of parliament, was promoted to deputy minister. I remember reading an article by a columnist of the Sunday Times, Mr. Banim Tombe, around that period, where he said, it was a situation where the president could be said to have been showing the chairperson of the commission the middle finger. That after adverse findings had been made against those two persons, they were promoted. That sent a wrong message. It sent a wrong message that the findings of the commission in regard to those individuals did not matter. It sent a wrong message that the wrongdoing in which the commission had found them to have been involved was not acknowledged as serious by the executive. It is not, however, only government which engages in conduct that sends a wrong message about corruption. It is also many others in our society who embrace people who are facing serious allegations of corruption, who make them their heroes. It sends a wrong message that we don't take corruption seriously. But also it happens whether in the private sector or in government, when we appoint to high positions people who are facing allegations of corruption. It sends the message that we don't take corruption seriously. It is difficult sometimes to understand why, if you have a pool of many competent people who qualify for a certain job, who do not have allegations of corruption hanging over their heads, you would choose somebody who has corruption allegations hanging over their heads. I think it is very important, whether we are talking about government or private sector, that as we move into the fourth decade of our democracy, these are some of the things that we are going to stop, because our commitment to fighting corruption must be very clear. As you all know, part of the findings that were made by the Commission related to how state capture occurred